Hello everyone, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use freeze panes tool in Microsoft Excel. Freeze panes is used to keep part of a worksheet visible while you scroll through the worksheet. It is usually helpful when the dataset is large and there is a need to view certain sections of the worksheet at all times. For instance, here in this worksheet, the captured data is not in the table format. And since it is not in the table format, when I scroll downwards, this first row, the headings will disappear. Let me show you. You can see that here now, the column headings are nowhere to be seen. So in such a situation, you can't tell which column is for which data. For instance, I can't tell which column has got profit values or which column has got sales values. To avoid that, one has to first fix the first row so that it remains visible. We can access the freezing commands by clicking on the View tab here. Then in the window group here, you click the arrow on the freeze panes. When you do that, you can be able to access the freezing commands. So let us begin by freezing the first row. To freeze the first row, select any cell within the dataset. Then come to freeze panes, click on freeze top row. When you do that, you can be able to see a darker gray line separating the first row from other rows. Now when you scroll, you can see that the first row remains fixed or the first row remains visible. To unfreeze, you come back to freeze panes here, then click on unfreeze panes. The dark gray line will disappear. So now when you scroll, the headings again disappear. Similarly, to freeze the first column, select any cell in the dataset, come to freeze panes, click freeze first column. You'll be able to see a darker gray line separating the first column from other columns. When you scroll horizontally, the first column remains visible. Again, you can unfreeze by coming here, then click on unfreeze panes. Then to freeze the top row and the first column at once, select an immediate cell below the first row and to the right of the first column. That cell is B2. This cell here is an immediate cell below the first row and to the right of the first column. After selecting it, come to freeze panes, click on freeze panes. You'll be able to see a darker gray line separating the first row from other rows and the darker gray line separating the first column from other columns. When you scroll horizontally, the first column remains visible, and when you scroll here vertically, the first row remains visible. Again, to unfreeze, you come to freeze panes and freeze. Then to freeze multiple rows, you click a row below the rows that are to be frozen. For instance, if I want to freeze the first top 7 rows, it means I have to select the 8th row, which is below the rows to be frozen. So I select row 8, then I come to freeze panes and choose freeze panes here. You see a darker gray line separating the top 7 rows from other rows. So when you scroll down, the top 7 rows remain visible. Alternatively, you can select a cell in the first column and below the rows to be frozen. So since I want the first 7 rows to be frozen, I select the cell here in the 8th row and in the first column. Then after selecting it, you come to freeze panes, then choose again freeze panes. You still get the first top 7 rows frozen. Unfreeze, come to freeze here, then choose unfreeze panes. Similarly, freeze multiple columns, select a column to the right of the columns to be frozen. For example, here, if you want to freeze columns A, B, C, select column D, then you come to freeze panes, click on freeze panes. You see the dark gray line separating the 3 columns from other columns. Scroll horizontally, the 3 columns remain visible. Again, we can unfreeze. Then to freeze multiple rows and columns at once, you select the cell below the rows and to the right of the columns you want to keep visible when you scroll. For example, if I want to keep again the first 7 rows visible and the first 3 columns visible, I select this cell here such that the rows to be frozen are on top of the cell and the columns to be frozen are on the left. After, click on freeze panes, choose freeze panes. So when you scroll vertically, the first 7 rows remain visible, and when you scroll horizontally, the first 3 columns also remain visible. That's how we can freeze multiple rows and columns at once. So to unfreeze, again, come to freeze panes, click on unfreeze. Then we also have shortcut ways to freeze panes. That is using the keyboard buttons. So to freeze the first row using the shortcut method, you press Alt on the keyboard, and here the buttons, you press them one by one. So after pressing the Alt key, press W for view, then press F for freeze panes, then press R for rows. So when you press R, the first row gets frozen. When you scroll vertically, you can see that the first row remains visible. To unfreeze using the shortcut method, again press Alt, W, pressing F, then F again. To freeze the first column, again you make sure you select any cell within the data set. Press Alt, W, then F, then C for column. You get the first column frozen. Scroll horizontally, you can see that it remains visible. Unfreeze, press Alt, W, F, then F again. Then to freeze multiple rows and columns at once, you select the cell below the rows and to the right of the columns you want to keep visible when you scroll. I can do the same. For instance, if I want the first top 7 rows to remain visible and the first 3 columns to remain visible, I select the cell here. Then again press Alt, W, F, then F again. You get the first 7 rows visible as you scroll. Also the first 3 columns visible as you scroll. So unfreeze, Alt, W, F, then F. So those are shortcut methods of how you can freeze panes in Microsoft Excel. Also note that sometimes freeze panes may fail to work due to some reasons. For example, when you double click here in this cell, it means this cell now is in the edit mode, and that makes the freeze panes inactive. Also, when the worksheet is protected, it becomes inactive. So to use the freeze panes, make sure that there is no cell which is in the edit mode or the worksheet is not protected. This is all for this tutorial. If you have found it useful, kindly like, share and comment. And if you are new to this channel, consider subscribing. Let us meet in the next tutorial.